the teeth of a killing machine, with a need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be, from a yin to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me, cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet, forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I feed on the fear of the devil inside, of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice. Eagles feed on the fear of the marching on. I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I bask in the glow of the rising fire, lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore. Wade through the blood spilled on the floor, and if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me, like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me, deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall where the jaws and the razor teeth, where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods of across your path, and my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past, the shadow of death is the one I cast.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. We are a little bit late. We started a little bit late than our normal time, and then we're a little bit late starting. A lot of things going on today. I'll just kind of leave it to that. Toby and I were having a talk before the show started. Events happening, info, news coming in. We're covering a lot tonight, but first I want to welcome my brother from another motherland, Mr. Nunn. How you doing, buddy?
My dude, let me get my volume set. My dude, I'm good, man. I think that's very cliche. Today's one of those cliches.
Yeah.
In fact, the past week, I feel it's been very superficial and cliche. People are like, what's going on, man? How are you? And you're like, you got 5 seconds?
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a lot longer than that for you to escape if I start talking.
That's it.
But yeah,
don't ask me that if I just had some pre-workout, because I may be rolling here. You know, it's like I may go motor mouth on here. Maybe had me a tall nitro cold brew from the Starbucks or something. I may get rolling off the. But yes,
bro. So let's start on a high note. Man, you can buy those cold brew nitros in the can, like the Starbucks ones. And I had a couple of those on this little road trip I did last week. And I got to tell you, Starbucks is back in my good graces.
Is it? It's. I mean, it still ain't Tim's, but those ones in the can.
It's no Tim Hortons.
No,
it's no Tim Hortons. But they're back in the good graces.
Just to be fair, yes, to be fair. But yeah, you're already getting accolades on the hair for sure. Yeah, Toby is rolling the bangs.
I got the hair. I got it did today. I got my hair done today. It hadn't been done since Eli's graduation. I guess that was the middle of May. So I came out of the mountains on Sunday and somebody we'll call her household 6 looked at my mop and my beard and was like,
she's like, hey,
you need to defunctify that before you get back in this house.
I know what she said. She said, you ain't no Jeremiah Johnson. You got to.
Yeah. No, and I gave
you ain't trading no girl for a hawk and gun. You ain't no Jeremiah Johnson.
No, I'm no Jeremiah Johnson. That's for sure. Greatest American movie ever made. Best
I got movie Robert Redford ever made. Absolutely, hands down, best movie he ever made.
That was Redford's best movie ever.
Yes.
But no, I got my hair did today because I'm getting on a plane early tomorrow morning. I'll be flying to the American Legion's National Convention where we'll be participating. When I say we, I will be there representing the stellar organization called Veteran Outdoors. Perhaps you've heard of it. You can find out more about Veteran Outdoors by looking at the cool logo and hitting that Facebook or whatever up. Google it. But Veteran Outdoors is being recognized as one of the organizations that has made a deep impact into the disabled veteran community with their efforts in the past 14 years. of the outdoors, to which I participated in a solid 10.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you have.
so
No, it's
I'll be
awesome.
out
You're going
there.
out there getting a great award, right? So that's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah, and so like with that, I'm pretty excited because I think he's been on the show, right? CV, he's been a
Yes,
guest.
we've had
If
CV
not,
on. No, we've had CV on. Yeah, he was an
yeah, I'm
early,
sure
long
we've had
time
CV
guest.
on. He's a longtime friend of both of ours, part of the Mill Blog community, founder of co-founder of This Ain't Hell. If you're familiar with the Mill Blog, This Ain't Hell, the king of the Stolen Valor tournament, the creator of all things Stolen Valor.
The recipient of more slander lawsuits, unfounded, than
Yes,
anyone
yeah,
else.
no, he is. So I'll be eating dinner with Easy Justin Capel. I see your comment. The Justin, just so you see, right here, boom, a new packet going out to the VA. So that was for my main homie. But I'll be breaking bread with CV tomorrow, and then from there, uh, back at it because next week is also Operation Salmon in the Pacific Northwest with a guy that's typically comes on into the chat room. Perhaps you've heard of him, John One Eye Kaiser.
One eye Kaiser. That's
Oh,
right.
One Eye. We'll be salmon fishing with about 20 or 30 great folks out there, getting to see some of the old tomahawks. So I'm pretty pumped about
That's a big
that.
trip for you, and that's probably your biggest trip of VO every year because of
Yeah,
you get to get
yeah.
back with the
It's
team, right? You get the band back together for
yeah. We get some of the band back together.
yeah.
Uh, the sorry, man. I'm like, you gotta forgive me. I'm coordinating some things in some other places, and I
Yeah.
gotta get to something. But yeah, no, like I'll let you talk for a few seconds while I handle some business real
Yeah,
fast.
I'll let you. I want to definitely give a shout out to our sponsors. One, I'm wearing a hat right now. This is this is a rare hat, Enlisted 9 Fight Company multicam hat, and then also Kermode Outdoor Development Group, Veteran Outdoors, who Toby was just talking about, BooHammer.com, Enlisted Alpha Elite performance, where you go Elite 15 for a discount. In fact, I got to get an order in. Need to get some more. Going to be using that Elite 15 discount code. But Alpha Elite Performance, all great sponsors of ours. Our producer, the unpaid man Rob, if you're in the chat, notice he is not pimping us out tonight or throwing up links. That's because Rob is, just like Toby and I are away every once in a while and have things going on. Rob is out tonight. He is traveling, so just make sure you can I think you all know how to use the Google, Veteran Outdoors, Kermode, Enlisted 9, Fight Company, or Alpha Elite, and Gear for Grunts. And I got to say, I'm proud of, back for Christmas, Toby got me this awesome hat from a show that I love to watch. I almost watch daily, the Hodge Twins, and I was so excited about that. I bought me another Hodge Twins hat, and I got me a Hodge Twins shirt, sporting that tonight, my 1776. Love me some damn good Hodge Twins. So, they are. I do my best not. I'm such a fanboy of theirs. I do my best to make sure I don't copy them subconsciously because those dudes put on a heck of a show. And which Toby and I have been compared to if we're in the same room. When Toby and I are together, like we were together a few months ago down in Austin, when we're together, we just play off each other and we just crack jokes and all that kind of stuff. It's a great. Those are our most favorite shows, and I think a lot of yours too. Hey, but look, there's a lot
Hey,
going on. Hey, Mom. Hey, everyone.
yeah.
Hey,
So
Travis. I just want
hey,
to say
everybody.
hi.
So sorry about that.
Nope.
What I was doing, Troy.
Yeah, I see. Go run with it.
Hey, so what I'm doing, everybody, uh, is I was just sharing a link that I also just shared in our Facebook chat room, and it's saveourallies.org, SAVEOURALLIES.org, and saveourallies.org is a group of veteran organizations, spearheaded primarily by multiple time guest of the show, close personal friend, one of my best friends, guy that married me, founder of Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs, Chad Robichaux. And so if you follow Chad on IG or the Twitter, or a little Boston Maggie there for you, the Twitter,
The Twitter.
the Twitter, or any of those platforms, you will see that Chad and several other multi-time guests and part of our kind of our inner circle,
Our crew. I'd
um,
call them part of our crew. I mean, they
the
are.
squad,
Yeah.
the
Don't say
squad.
squad. Don't say squad. That's got a connotation. Let's go with
Well, we're cooler.
yeah. Fire
Fire
team. Fire
team,
team. Fire team.
part of the,
Fire
you know,
team. Yeah.
the non ODA ODA, even though half of them are ODA guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the
They started out non
are
ODA somewhere. Everyone had to start
Yeah,
somewhere.
everyone had to start fucking somewhere. You know, like Travis was a medic and then never became a medic. No, he was a medic, but became an echo. The
I thought he was
But hey,
finance. I didn't know. I thought he was fine. You told me he was finance.
he should have been finance is what he should have been. Yeah, but all seriousness aside, hey, our friends, our good friends, are doing the Lord's work and the work that the United States government should be doing better. And I don't often talk smack about our country, and I'm not really going to talk smack about our country because it's not the men and women in uniform, it's not the men and women on the ground that have bungled this. It falls to one building in America. It falls to two offices within that building, and you know, like, but if you are compelled and you care about what's going on in Afghanistan right now, and maybe you served in Afghanistan, or your family member served in Afghanistan, you care about the people of Afghanistan, especially those that we owe a debt. A lot of people don't understand, but when some of these guys and gals volunteer to serve with the United States Armed Forces, they sign contracts, and part of that contract, part of their compensation package, is if they serve a certain amount of time or serve in a certain capacity, they are entitled to special visa. All right, so like this is a member of their, you know, a portion of their compensation package. So we owe a lot of people. The current administration a couple months ago started doxing, releasing basically knock lists, you know, of people that were in covert capacities, you know, feeding us information and stuff like that. And that's kind of where the genesis of, you know, Chad getting involved was the guy that he worked with on 8 deployments, the guy on the ground that helped Chad, Chad lived with him, played soccer with his kids for 8 deployments, got doxxed by this administration and immediately became a target. Aziz, thankfully, thank God, is out with his family, with his kids. If you go on Chad's Instagram, the IG, you will see a picture of Chad in a host nation, non-American, coalition country, where this host nation is helping this organization do the right thing because they've been doing it for a minute. And the ticker's up. There's over 5,000 deserving men, women, and children. They early on, the earliest flights that they did pre, you know, all the news media was actually all women and children that were the orphaned and the widows of those that worked for us that had been executed. So they're like doing everything that they can to do that. So if you feel compelled to support and help them recoup some of the costs that, you know, some generous Americans and some other international folks have done to help make this happen, to pay for these charter planes that are flying from this host nation in and out of Kabul. If you're watching the Pentagon briefings, they're talking about the Americans did a flight every 39 minutes. That's flight left Kabul every 39 minutes. But there was only like 32 American military birds that took off out of the 89 birds that were carrying passengers out of it. The deficit, the delta of that is charter flights with organizations like what our good friends are doing. So if you want to support and you care about that, and I got some information. I was talking to Chad right before the show. It's one of the reasons we were late. And I have more information to share on that. but we'll do that later on. But I will, throughout the show, continually put up saveourallies.org. So if you need to share that with somebody, and on there, there's also, not everyone has money, right? Not everyone has $1, $5, $1,000, $10,000 to throw in that kitty. But on there, there's a link. You can click on that link for you to write to your legislator directly, because part of the problem is we need our government to understand the fear, will, and desire of the people. So if you're a veteran and you want to like voice your opinion, you're a member of a military family, or you're just somebody that, you know, is a student of politics and doesn't understand how they're living through in their lifetime, they're seeing the greatest political failure. You know, write your congressman, write your senator, or a congressperson, and ask them. And there, in this letter, there's lots of those questions. There's things you can, if you want to write your own and create your own dialogue, do that. All the information, email numbers are there. So saveourallies.org. Go ahead.
No, that's good. That's hit right on. We have a lot of nonprofits we support. We pimp them out on here all the time. But this is one that's current and effective, and it's what matters right now. And not that the others don't, but definitely give this one a look. No, so we're going to be talking about this tonight, and we've been hitting on Afghanistan for the last few weeks. I know I did a show by myself about it. Last week, you know, I had Scott Mann, Lieutenant Colonel retired Scott Mann on. Scott is the creator of, you know, the Last Out play, also multiple 8-9 tours in country. Good friends with our another past guest of ours, author of Lions of Kandahar, Rusty Bradley, multiple tours, both ODA guys, SF guys. I mean, you know, Toby and I are so honored and just flattered all the time we talk about it, that how these people we know that are just literally walking pieces of history in this country. We're just two dudes. We just happen to get to know them, and they just are solid people. I mean, you can take it all the way back to October 2001, Jason Amarine, right? Another ODA team commander who's been on the show a number of times. But all these folks are, you know, this is just something near and dear to our heart, whether someone served in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. But, you know, these folks are you know, we had Scott on last week talking about it. We knew it was going to keep getting worse. The thing that scares me, Toby, is every time I think it's going to get worse, or every time I think it's as bad as it can get, it scares me now because I don't know what else it's going to be. Today's a bad freaking day. Losing 13 solid sons and daughters, possibly, I don't know, but, you know, of our country. I don't know what the genders are made up, but, you know, 12 Marines and a corpsman, essentially 13 Marines, right? That Doc is in there with him. He's a Marine right there with them. And, you know, to have that loss, and we all say today sucks. Right. And then I think, oh my God, what's next? Right. When is the incoming? Right. When are the 107 Katyushas coming in? You know, when are they going to have multiple V-bids at every gate at one time or whatever else? But that's what scares me more than anything is like whatever's happening, like watching mothers hand their children, babies, you know, up to a Marine on a fence over concertina wire, literally barely grabbing with the thought that I'll never see my baby again. Not a child, like a baby, like needs freaking formula baby, you know. And you see, you know, this young 18-year-old, 19-year-old, these 20-year-olds running after this plane, holding on the plane, and then knowing they're not going to survive, and watching them, you know, either get crushed in the plane or fall off. And you see that it turns your heart. All of that on top of the things that turn the hearts of those of us that have served over there, and those of us people that just serve in general. And that is, you know, but especially those that served over there, that you know, and we talked about this last week with Scott. I've talked about this with Dave Bellevue on his show probably 5 times in the last week and a half, is that what it's doing to the psyche of our veterans, not only that have served there, but the ones that are serving there right now. And then I've also, and I said this last week, those that served before us that went through the same thing from Vietnam, right? This has got some lasting effects that we have no idea. Guess what? The 22 a day is still happening. And in fact, there's one that just happened recently. I'm not going to go into details. That is close to Toby and I. Don't know all the details. Don't know if it's because of this, but that's still happening, right? And that's just going to get worse when people see this. If anything, Toby, I'm going to pause to give you a chance, but I know one thing we've seen in the last 4 to 7 days, I guess, is a number of us, you know, I've been one, but there's been so many others, recognized the mental, psychological effect this could happen on our Afghan vets. And so many people proactively came out and said, hey, what you did was worth it. Hey, don't let this get you down. Because you know why? Because I think we all knew that if you didn't address it and start to try to encourage and lift people up, that people were going to let this drag them down that freaking hole of hell.
So I'm going to start with your last thought, and then I'm going to circle back.
Oh, you got circle back.
Oh, you better than Saki. I feel like I need to be wearing a green dress.
You need a red wig.
There's something soul stealer, but the really neat thing is I've been reminded in this past couple weeks how many high level folks have been through Afghanistan. We did not see this with Iraq. All right. So while a lot of high level folks went through Iraq, when ISIS was, monkey stomping everybody in Iraq, no one got on the microphones and said, oh man, Mosul fell, or Tikrit fell, or Syria fell, or Libya's half ISIS. No one got on the microphone and said, hey, Iraq vet, I hope you're okay with that. Some people did, but it wasn't like this. And I think what we're seeing in the past couple of weeks is a direct reflection of like the evolution of that understanding. Like the global war on terror guys saw that the Vietnam guys weren't properly welcomed home and didn't get that opportunity for that healing and that welcome. And there's been a big movement within the veteran community of the global war on terror to like pay homage to the Vietnam era guys and gals, and to like take time and do that. I think we're seeing a faster evolution of that with this scenario. And it's been great to see congressional leaders, active duty military leaders, large influencers within different communities get on the microphones, the pulpits, the soapboxes, whatever you want to call it, the televisions, and just kind of break down like, hey, you did good work. What's happening right now is not in any capacity a reflection of what you and your brothers and sisters did. What you did was awesome. What you did was great. What you did was worthy. It was honorable. You should be proud of it. And I'm glad they're doing that because, like you just said, I, without a doubt, believe that you can take the past couple weeks occurrences and you're going to directly correlate them and connect them to the immediate and forthcoming suicides of many veterans.
Yeah.
I dare say, like, the one that we know, it might be one of those numbers.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking, to see somebody that has made it, a decade and a half post a massive event, their Alive Day, and then, to make it this far and then something, be the camel's back. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Now they're circling back. There will be these other things happening. There will be these other things happening, and you're going to start seeing more and more of them happening. And part of it has to do with the timeline, but part of it has to do with what terrorism actually is by definition. By definition, terrorism is the use or threat of violence to further a political agenda, right?
Yeah.
That is the definition of terrorism. You will start seeing the forces that are non-American or coalition starting to utilize terrorism to achieve their political gain. And that's because they don't know any better. That's the only thing that they feel that is effective for them. That's also why you don't negotiate with them. Because
you don't give cash and trade people for them.
If you negotiate with a terrorist, you have shown them what is valuable to you.
Yep.
And when you show somebody what's valuable to you, then you give them the opportunity to exploit that value. And, you know, they could have set off a bomb anywhere in that country, probably had a higher effect of kill, but they did it specifically at a specific location to attack a specific demographic. And that was to demonstrate that they understood the value of that to us, and they want to inflict terror.
Well, and they also know anywhere else in that country is not going to have a camera on it. No one's going to give a flip. Right?
So part deux, the only way that you can inflict terror is if people can tell your horrific story.
Yep.
And as the fear of media leaving Kabul ramps up in the next day or two or three or five, because we are 5 days out. Well, we're 4 days out because they're ahead. You're going to see a massive spendex of bullshit. I hate saying that, and that's not what I wish, and that's not what I want. But the harsh reality is, you know, if you're a student of anything foreign diplomatic involving terrorism, like, you know that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The rockets are not going to happen to the airfield till much later in the number. And that's because, like, if they hurt the airfield in any way early on that might change the deadline, there's the chance that America might get the balls that it should have had to fight.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, like, this is just,
I mean, you would think this would
so,
almost
like,
do it.
they're not going to fuck the airfield up. Pardon the language. Sorry, Mrs.
Yeah.
Stewart. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mom. They're not going to mess the airfield up till they know they can get away with it.
Right.
And if they do it today, they're not going to get away with it. So you're going to continue to see these, you know, like, if they can, you know, figure out exactly where the containment areas are, you know, the marshaling areas are, you might see some mortars, some indirect fires going into that. You're going to continue to see probing IEDs, you know, suicide vests going into that stuff. But, you know, the airfield should probably remain intact till later on. But it will get attacked.
Well, apparently they're already asking. They're asking Turkey to.
You heard it here first.
They're asking Turkey to come help run the airfield. Like, the Taliban have already said they're asking Turkey if they'll bring people in to run the airfield. Right? They act like they want to establish themselves as legitimate government and society and culture. But, you know, I don't know if you saw the video today. They had a Black Hawk that they took, you know, that we gave to them, or we gave to the Afghan, and Kandahar, just taxiing. They never showed it lift off. But it is taxied, right? They turned that into an IO campaign. Propaganda. Look, we're driving this Black Hawk around on the airfield, you know, which would still be fun as hell. I would love to drive a Black Hawk, or, you know, around. That would be awesome. But they did that, and it's just all to the part of their IO campaign to show, look, see, we can fly. You know, they can say, look, we're flying a helicopter with it, because no one's going to take them. Well, you're not actually flying it yet, right? But
It still takes a little bit to figure that out.
Yeah, they had to Google that.
That's not a go-kart.
They had to Google that.
That's not a go-kart.
I don't know where they figured that out, but yeah,
that's not a go-kart.
Right, that's for sure. But
it still takes the understanding of pitch and rotation.
Because they got to turn,
to pull the air.
Right, exactly.
No, like, they have to figure that out.
Right.
Like, let's not make light of that.
Right,
that's still an accomplishment.
Yeah, but they probably didn't feel comfortable enough to go wheels up.
they did not terminate at a Hubbard.
No. Exactly. No, I mentioned
for all you Pathfinders.
There we go. That's it, man. Except I got your arms cut off, so no one can see it. But I mentioned earlier about what worse is going to happen. Every time I see something bad happen, and today when we saw it happen, I mean, I put up. I think I sent you earlier on a chat. We do a picture. I mean, they got it. They got the shock effect. Look, I glued to Twitter all day because the news was not catching up. We were chatting in our internal chat, and I was talking with friends on the side, and I was telling them stuff that happened 10 to 20 minutes before it hit any breaking news. Dude, I said this before, and I've had this happen when we've had major events. I go to Twitter and just put in the right search, and people are throwing up videos and clips and stuff. When I heard there was a bombing, I was there. Before 45 minutes before anyone talked about 2 bombings, it was already on Twitter. People are showing footages of being taken in the ambulance. I mean, it's a great news feed. That's the only positive thing I've ever found on Twitter. If there's an event, I can go there, whether man-made or natural disaster, and you can get the latest. But the picture they have, they had this canal, this sewer canal between kind of a DMZ, if you would, between an outer fence security perimeter and an inner one, which is the one you always saw the Marines standing on the wall. And there are so many bodies laying in that sewer water and sewer pit that it is literally blood red. I mean, it's like something you see in a Jaws movie. It is solid red, like the Chicago River is green or San Antonio is green in St. Patrick's Day. And there's shoes and there's this and that. To me, and I said it today to a few folks, that is the iconic photo to me of what this day was about. And it is just articles of clothing and stuff that you knew belonged to people, and a 6 foot wide, I don't know how deep, probably 3 foot deep body of water that is so saturated with blood that has completely turned it all solid red. So I mean, we see that, and of course at the time it turns everybody's hearts, and it turns everyone, it makes everyone's sympathy, and some people probably even throwing up hashtags. So we I know they're throwing, hashtags free the Afghans or something. But here's my other fear. What are the damage this administration has done for this country on the world stage has weakened us to the point that the only way we're going to get that strength and respect and recognition back is at some point in the future when something bad happens, we've got to go in and clean house. I'm just being straight up and honest, right? The world stage, whether it's China, North Korea, Islamic terrorist, Russia, it doesn't matter who it is. They've seen us, and we have the president in this country is being brought up and talked terrible about in the halls of Parliament in Great Britain, our biggest ally, and we have all these world leaders calling him out, and the Chancellor, what's her name, the one in Germany, and all of them, right? And no one's going to take it serious while the Biden administration's in, for sure. Even if 2024 Republican comes in, right? Our country has become so politically correct, and everything is so politicized, right? That it's not like someone's going to come and try to do a small attack against us that we're going to just unleash all holy hell on them to say, look how tough we are. We're still tough. We just won't react that way, right? Because it's probably not the appropriate level of escalation or force, anyways. So all of that to say this. My fear is this has done the damage to us that sadly the only way we're going to get that respect back is the attack on us is going to have to be at a 9/11 level, where we come back with such force that where we were doubted then that the enemy, Osama bin Laden, we know after the fact, all of them doubted that we would have the wherewithal and the resolve to come back and do what we did after 9/11. It's going to take something that big where we can justifiably get away with coming back with such force that people can say, oh, America's balls dropped again. Awesome. They're back. It ain't going to happen until then. And I don't mean to be gloom and doom, but I just don't see in today's society, in our culture, the way the media is, and hashtags and political correctness, we're not gonna have a small, I don't know, propane car bomb in downtown Toledo, and we're just gonna go, turn half of Afghanistan into a parking lot. I mean, we're just not gonna do that kind of stuff. We're not gonna be like Russia and just obliterate entire villages because 2 people attacked us and ran back in the village. We're not gonna level the entire village. Right, that's the way Russia did things back in their war there. We're only going to respond with the minimum amount of force necessary until the point that this country gets so pissed off and is so hurt that they'll say what you and I both heard, Toby, before we even knew each other. But I know you heard it too, because I heard it everywhere I went. In the days after 9/11, when people, regardless of party, regardless if they were vegans or vegetarians, or that wasn't even a thing back then, or they were whatever, they were saying make that place a parking lot. Remember, they were selling out of flags. People were putting flags on their cars. Everyone is super patriotic. Everyone was hugging every cop and fireman they could see. And they were, once it was named that Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan, people across this country were going, let's level that place. F them all. It's going to take something that big where this country has that feeling again. I don't know what you thought, but that's just something that's been on my mind.
So I agree. My spiritual advisor, my chaplain, my good friend, my mentor, my brother, Derek Gooding, is in our chat room, and his comment was, our senior leaders have taken their eye off the ball. Political correctness, has led us here. We are going to be attacked again. Sorry, I don't mean to be all Jocko. Maybe we should film this episode in black and white.
That'd be cool.
But it is going to take a little bit more. But my father was a wise man. He did not have the stomach for violence. He did not have the heart for war. That's something that our souls were separate on. He had a strong belief in God, and always figured that God's plan was God's, and God's would work it out. But one thing he taught me was there's two types of people in the world. There's those that have knowledge of, and there's those that have acquaintance with. And to be a leader, to be an effective leader, to be a respected leader, you need more than just knowledge of. You need acquaintance with, and you need to have those two together. And right now, we have people in leadership, and I'm going to go ahead and say, especially on the senior level. I'm not going to disrespect anyone on the military side, other than maybe the Secretary of Defense. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that it doesn't matter how many years in Congress you have. It doesn't matter how many years sitting in a seat casting yay, nays, or maybes. Not maybes. That's also known as abstain. You need to walk the earth and know what that means. And, we are seeing this utopian naivety of diplomacy that anyone that's ever stepped outside of this country on behalf of this country understands. And, like this naivety, I'd love to go off on a tirade and say it's ignorance, but it's not. It's naivety. It's a lack of knowledge. You gotta have more than just knowledge of. You need acquaintance with, and anyone that's ever been on the business end of terrorism knows that talking to them, torturing them isn't going to change that. Just like anyone that's been on the business end of us, talking to us, torturing us isn't going to change that. Our good friend David Bellavia spoke the truth in the halls of heroes, in the little building called the Pentagon, a couple years back, after getting a little blue ribbon placed around his neck. Yeah. And spoke to the heart of the warrior, spoke to the heart of the people that have acquaintance with. And that is that if you do this to us, understand that we will take you, and your sons and daughters will also die in combat. But that's the will of the people. And that's the will of the people that have acquaintance with. The sad part is there's some people that believe they have knowledge of, and their lack of experience is being demonstrated. And this thing has been a failure on so many levels. The guy that was in charge of the greatest debacle prior to this, creating the rise, creating the rise of ISIS and providing the platform for ISIS to be successful was a general officer named Lloyd Austin.
Yeah.
And so 10 years ago, that ass clown got a dress rehearsal. And the leader that helped facilitate that was a guy by the name of Joe Biden, who was the vice president of the United States at the time, and now the current president, the commander in chief. Like, they had a dress rehearsal. And what's going on right now is this really bad Lyndon Johnson, I'm going to politic the problem versus solving the problem. Everyone watching the news, and it doesn't care if you're like a patchouli soaked hippie that's high as a motherfucker right now. Everybody watching the news knows the answer. And that answer is fight back.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're seeing it from both parties, right? This is not a partisan thing right now. Short of Pelosi, who said he did a great job, but then she's run off and she's high. Everyone in Congress is left, and they don't want to be near Biden is a lightning rod right now. People on both sides. You had a Republican and a Democrat congressman, both of them vets, just sneak into Afghanistan and go see for themselves. Now, afterwards, everyone's got all pissed off. They did it secret. They didn't go with camera crews. They did anything. They bought their own tickets to UAE, and then they flew in on an empty charter flight. They got in at like 8 in the morning.
Oh, I wonder how they did that. I wonder how they did that.
Yeah. Spent like 12 hours on the ground, right? Made sure
SaveOurAllies.org.
Right. There you go. And then flew themselves out on jump seats to make sure they didn't take any seats, even though the plane was empty. And they got firsthand. How many times, Toby, during Iraq and Afghanistan did we see? I know I saw it, where these congressmen and senators came over in their boondoggles and had their ill-fitting K-pots on sideways and shitty vest, and they'd have this full PSD to escort them around so they could come over there and walk around and say they were like Biden said. He said he's been in Afghanistan so many times. He's the most experienced foreign policy person we have. And then last night we hear on Tucker that Eric Prince's Blackwater had to apparently rescue them in Taliban country. I remember when that happened, when their helicopter went down, including with his buddy John Kerry.
Awkward.
Yeah. So, they go over there all the time. So now 2 congressmen who happen to be vets, so they have a vested interest. They've been there. They've chewed that sand, fly over there, in and out, no cameras, just to see what's going on firsthand, come back, and they're being lambasted by the Speaker of the House because how dare they do that and all that kind of stuff. You're taking seats, you're distracting them. They didn't distract them. They went over and got firsthand knowledge versus sitting in a leather chair on the hill and just pontificating about what should or should not be done. I mean, no matter what letters behind their name, I'm so proud of both those guys going over there. Not that every member of Congress needs to go over there and screw things up right now, but they did the way they did it on their own. They did it on the down low. They just wanted to get firsthand knowledge to see, because this means a lot to them, right? So this is what's happening, and I'm hoping people, both left and right, come back, and I'm seeing what Al Lex put up.
I want to respond directly to that as soon as you give me a second.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping people come back and they realize, that several weeks ago where we have Millie, I call Scorsese, General Scorsese, talking about how he's studying white rage and needs to learn white rage, and him and Lloyd Austin are talking about the biggest threat to this country just a month ago.
Yes.
Was white extremist nationalists, right? That was the biggest threat to this country, right? This was the same time that the state, actually was after the time, because in April the State Department was telling Americans, get the out of Afghanistan. I had censored myself. How'd you like that? Yeah. Get out of Afghanistan. They were saying in April. In June and July, the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs are saying, nope, the biggest threat is white. That's why everyone forgot about Afghanistan, because our military and our administration for the last 8 months acted like Afghanistan wasn't anything. People are saying, why didn't I realize this? Why didn't I catch this? It's because they made sure it was whitewashed and it was not even going to be talked about in the news. They were talking about January 6th. They were talking about all that. And they were talking about COVID. Everyone forgot Afghanistan was even happening until we just saw a river of red flow.
All right. So I'm going to caveat on what you said, but I'm going to jump back to the comment about and the comment is if 45 made the agreement with the Taliban, hashtag contracts, gave up millions of weapons extraction by May 1st, how is Biden to blame? And I hate all politicians. All right, so let's set the record straight on what the agreement was. So the agreement was there was more than one party at the table. So it's not like he sought out the leader of the Taliban, which we released. So we can go ahead and like the three guys holding the highest seats of the Taliban were in Guantanamo Bay, and we're sitting in Qatar as guests of Qatar because we traded them for Bo Bergdahl. All right, so we traded 5 fucking pieces of shit for a piece of shit, and you know, those 3 guys, 2 got killed on the battlefield because they violated the terms of their release and went back to the battlefield and they got killed. You know, live by the sword, die by the sword. Not mad at them. The other 3, you know, stayed in Qatar and were guests of the state of Qatar and the United States while they were supposed to be retired from terrorism. But when President Trump sat at the table, he didn't sit at the table with those 3. He sat at the table with multiple parties to include the Afghanistan government that we were kind of propping up. And in terms of like complete withdrawal of troops, there was never going to be a complete withdrawal of troops. There was going to be a remainder of support staff to assist the Afghan internal security forces, and there would be a remaining of force via air. We would continue to support them. There was not going to be, now everyone wants to get, you know, hopped up of boots on the ground and all that stuff. We've left, you know, status of forces agreements with many, many nations that we've been involved in. So my comment earlier about Lyndon Johnson, you know, politicking the problem of Vietnam and then trying to be like, well, I inherited this mess and so did this and so did that. Like anyone that ran for office last year and knowing they were taking possession of the country this year knew that they were taking possession of this. So like it is the fault of the current leadership. If you were in the Army with me, brother, you know what I'm saying when I say a leader's responsible for everything a unit does or fails to do.
Yep.
And honestly, like, you know, to stand behind a microphone like Joe Biden did earlier today and be like, well, you know, like it sucks that these guys got killed, but let's not forget the reason they got killed is because we're here past May 1st. Like that is absolutely disingenuous. It's dishonest and it's factually inaccurate.
Well, yeah,
now,
you can't cherry pick. That's the one. That's the one Trump
like,
deal.
Everyone knows, like I'm not. Everyone knows that
I'm.
I'm not like my boy Troy is a big Trump guy. Everyone knows like I'm, you know, middle of the road. You know, I take things issue by issue. But you cannot, when you look at this in any light, with any lens, come up with anything other than if you're in charge, the buck truly does stop with you, and you're responsible for what your unit does or fails to do. He is the commander in chief. He should understand that. And when he took his oath of office, he had a lot of opportunity between then and now to make this right.
Yeah.
The plan of withdrawal, he did not keep to. He stood only months ago at the G7, and the reason he's being held in contempt in the House of Parliament, in the House of Commons, and the House of Lords is because he stood and swore to the leaders of the G7, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, that he would retain enough of a security force that they could safely operate and exfil their citizens throughout the entirety of 2021. He is being held in contempt because he changed the timeline and he did not advise, include, or seek any
notify.
form of
Notified. Didn't even tell
any
him.
form of approval from the people he gave his word to. Like everyone that is a fan of the show or listens to the show or knows me knows I'm a very middle of the road guy. I'm very liberal on some things, and I'm very steadfast in some things. But if you also know me, I went to college for international relations with a focus on global terrorism. So like this kind of the wheelhouse. But the I love you, brother. I didn't just so you know, like I don't take comments like that personally. What I feel there is a need, and I'm sorry I'm so impassioned, is because like after I get done with the show, I'm going to be doing what I did the past couple of nights, and that's continue to support my brothers. They're over there doing what we should have been doing 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Versus all of a sudden now we have a 4-day deadline that, it just breaks my heart because we're politicking a problem. We're having people standing in front of microphones saying like, this is the greatest airlift in the history and we're the best at airlifting people. And it's like, the United States government isn't doing it. The British are going into Kabul. The SAS are going into Kabul and extracting Americans. Not just British. They're helping whoever they can. The French, and I can't believe that we're being embarrassed by the French. Now, the French have some lovely chaps, some mon amis called the Legion. That's not even who's doing this.
No, regular French.
I mean, it's the regular French, which I'm like I didn't even think there was regular French because they haven't shown up for a war in, I don't know, since the 100-Year War. They
were in Desert Storm. I saw them there. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like it's a bummer, man. Like it's a bummer to see that you are witnessing a modern day Dunkirk is not being organized by the United States government. It is not being governed by the United States government. They should be. We have all the technology. We have all the leadership. We have all the ability in the world to like solve this problem right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we got 2 battalions of Army infantry, 1 battalion of Marine infantry. We got enough aid station to support what it's going to take to put out a 2 to 3 mile perimeter of that joint and get everybody out. And we can dictate, we own the sky, we can dictate the timeline. But we're not. We're playing politics, we're making speeches, we're propping ourselves up, and we're trying to push through a spending bill. Like, Congress staying in session all night long so that they can talk about a $5 trillion spending versus like the fact that Americans are being slaughtered.
Yeah.
Slaughtered.
No, I want to hit on something, Toby. I mean, I would have totally went for the May 1st thing if this president, it just amazes me how he can twice now, he talks about the buck stops here. And in the same conversation, he pretty much says, but not with me. Right. And he stuck to everything else that Trump had put in place and say,
Yep.
well, President Trump, I don't like him, whatever. He did some bad tweets, but he made this deal and I'm going by it and I got to make May 1st. But when you walk in before before the ticker tape is cleaned up from the inauguration parade, you're already ending the XL pipeline, and then you're ending and you're stopping the wall and you're stopping all this other, stuff that President Trump put in place. Then you don't have one iota of credit to sit there and say, but I had to go by this deal. It wasn't me. It was President Trump that said to pull him out. Well, then if that was the case, you should have been out by May 1st. Like, it's such.
You had no problem pulling us out, like putting us back in the Paris Accord.
No, he had no problem stopping that wall.
You had no problem like renegotiating any other foreign program.
That's what I mean. He had no problem
Come on.
telling the Canadians to screw off and stopping that pipeline, right? He didn't have a problem doing that. But
No.
one thing that he said today, and I don't know if many people picked it up, and oh shit, I think I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Excuse me.
God bless you.
I couldn't mic my. I hope I didn't blow anyone's ears out. One thing he said today, and I think I tweeted to you or I messaged you. I don't know. If you go back and look at his speech today, it was missed by all the media and everything. He admitted today we're not getting the Americans out. In one part of his speech, he said,
correct,
right? When one of the reporters that he was instructed to pick asked him a question, he said that we're going to do all we can to go back in there and help get the rest of them that want to come out. And that I sit there and my jaw, I'm like, holy shit! He just admitted that they are not planning to extract all Americans. Not like that asshat freaking Blinken says. Oh, the ones that want to leave can leave. Oh, yeah, because others want to stay there, right?
Yeah, but everyone's like, I just want to stay here, have my children raped, and die.
Right.
Yeah.
I guarantee people trying to jump on that plane were Taliban. They were like, screw it, I'd rather go to America and be a Southern Baptist than stay here, right? But he said it today. So if you go back and watch it, you go back and look at the transcript, he said, we'll go back in there and we're going to do everything we can to go back in there and try to keep getting our Americans out. Shut up, Siri. I was just, and I haven't heard anyone pick up on it, and I haven't been 100% glued to the news since then. But it just amazes me. So
shortly after that question, Peter Dorsey, was allowed to ask a question, and he kind of scorched. He went after the "do you take accountability" kind of question, and missed that opportunity. But so Blinken 4 days ago, played our hand. And so when he made that comment today, like I knew I captured what I thought it was in reference to. And what I thought was in reference was to Blinken, the Secretary of State, his commentary about the shelter in place. Now, let's just talk about shelter in place for a quick second. They told all Americans, citizens in Afghanistan to not go to the airfield because it was too dangerous. They could not count on the Taliban to keep their word, and they figured, they would expose themselves. So they asked them to shelter in place. Now, sheltering in place is a strategy that we employ when we have a plan. Mm-hmm. So when we'll use an active shooter, right? So an active shooter is on, we'll say, like a college campus or a mall, and anyone who's in the proximity of those cell towers, an alert goes out that says shelter in place. The purpose of the shelter in place is twofold. One, to protect you from the shooter, protect you from the harm, from the danger. The second, but more important part of this is so that the people coming in don't damage you or mistake you for the bad guys. When you say shelter in place, it's because we're sending people in and we don't want you in the crossfire. We're sending people in to eliminate the threat so that we can safely extract you after that. Shelter in place is a part of a strategy. It is part of a strategy. It is not a plan.
No, it's not a method. Not at all.
It's not a method. It's like, just like hope and praying isn't a strategy. It's like, it's helpful.
We always said in the army, hope is not a method. When I heard a lieutenant back brief at that strategy. when I heard him back brief at a rock drill or at a something like that, walking through and say, I'm hoping the enemy's over here. Yeah, hope is not a method. We don't plan on that at all. No, Ducey's. You know what else came out today? Today's speech. I mean, it amazed me in the first 90 seconds. All about me, right? Hey, his son did a tour in Iraq and served as a lawyer in Kosovo. But don't try to pull the frickin' I'm kind of like you Gold Star parents bullshit and sit there and push that frickin' tear out and talk about your son Bo that died of brain cancer. That sucks. People die of all kind of stuff regardless of their career fields. But he did not die in a battlefield. He did not die giving his service to his country.
He's not a Gold Star.
That dude wants to be. No. He wants to be a Gold Star parent because he brings him up every time. In fact, someone I know today who didn't even watch the speech, the first thing he said, Bo, ? Like, yep, how'd you know? Always brings him up.
that was
on ours. Yeah.
I'm laughing because it's a great way to alleviate some of the tension, right? But I double dog dare him to have that commentary to the face of one of the 12 parents.
13 now.
Or since the show, 13.
Yeah, we're 13. Awesome. 12 Marines, 1 corpsman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go be at the airfield when he's there, when that casket comes off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're feeling.
Yeah. Go to Dover.
Yeah.
And talk about your son in front of the guys that you put there
on a mission that was not something they could accomplish and achieve. They were a knee-jerk reaction to a failed policy plan. Like, yeah,
they
only went in there because
isn't Cop Keating.
No, they went in there because people started peeling off the side of an aircraft because they ran across an airfield, and we really didn't want the imagery of Afghans, and it really screws up engines, getting sucked up in a Rolls-Royce engine on a C-17 kind of really messes it up, and they got to do some maintenance on it. That's why we deployed those troops in there. They were not on the task to go. It was when the security completely collapsed at the airport, and those people jumped those 2 fences and realized, hey, if I can run on that plane and get on there. And guess what? 640 of them did on a C-17 that was actually taxiing into land, that was coming in. That's something I found out way after the fact, I think on our show a couple weeks ago. That C-17 that those 640 climbed up on the tailgate of and rode out, and the people were or not the climb tailgate, but that climbed up and people were getting on
the landing gear
and climbed up and all. It had just landed. It was there to drop crap off, and they charged it and said, I got to get out of here. So he just took off. And went to and so I mean that's why these Marines and paratroopers and everyone else is deployed into. And then I found out the other day 10th Mountain was in there. Didn't even know they'd got, but that's fine. We don't need to know all the OPSEC, but that's why they're all there. Well,
there's the other issue of there's an assumption, and that assumption that's being made is that the only American forces are on the airfield in Kabul. And when I say that the assumption being made, I'm not saying that we've put other people outside of the airfield on Kabul since this has started. I'm saying that there are people that didn't make it to the airfield.
Right.
Like active duty. We're making the assumption that everyone did, but like, there's a really good chance that there are units that
just saying there's a chance. We don't know. Nothing's came out public. Just saying there's a chance. Yeah.
There's just this assumption that everyone made every flight, and the air and the planes showed up when they were supposed to show up, when they were supposed to show up.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that we're seeing in terms of equipment that people have that we would not have abandoned. There's some things that we would have taken off. There's some things that we would have destroyed. There's some things that even privates know you're supposed to do.
Right. Exactly. So
like,
I want to go
Go ahead.
I was going to go to the chat real quick. Julie asked a question about the list. We heard today about the list of Americans that they want to give safe passage to. So that came out this afternoon. There were some questions about it. It seemed like it was being vetted and it was validated. The president was asked that today. He didn't come out and say exactly that. He brought up this scenario of a bus and saying he think, and maybe he doesn't. I mean, obviously, look at him. He probably doesn't know what's going on right now. But he didn't come out and unequivocally say, no, we didn't do that. There's no way we would dox all the Americans in country and say, hey, here's your kill list. I mean, here's our pass list. Can you let them through? But essentially it was a kill list.
Yeah.
But he said, oh, well, if we have a bus of people and we want to get them through, we let them know, hey, there's a bus of people going. Here's the people that are on the bus, right? We do that. So this was a scenario he gave. So, Julie, to answer your question,
so like
we think that's happened because
well,
the 4-star CENTCOM commander today said that happened. I watched his speech. That's where it came from. The Sink C, the commander-in-chief of U.S. CENTCOM, 4-star Marine general, said that's what happened, and no one has refuted that yet. So yes, and I think every person, Julie, I don't know you from anybody, but I would imagine anyone, whether they have a military background, family member or not, could look at that and go, WTF, the hell are you doing giving our enemy, the enemy of ours for the last 20 plus years, the list of every freaking American still stuck inside the country?
Well, the ones that they know about, or the ones, So Julie is an awesome lady, just for the record. Big shout out to my good friend, Julie Morelli.
I think she probably is tied to military somehow.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about her.
Okay.
Let me brag on this family. The Morelli family, her late husband, Tony, was an amazing stuntman. But they're out of Vancouver. They're British Columbians.
Ooh.
Their daughter, Sammy, is one of the most talented singers. You can check her out. In fact, we've played her songs on this show. Warning Signs is one of the songs in our repertoire that we've rolled through on here back in the day when we used to play a lot more music. And her daughter, Jewel, is an amazing animator, works for Disney, Pixar, and has been sent around the world, London and other places to help create great things for our children to watch. But I met Julie and her lovely family, her husband and her two daughters, because she used to leave Canada and come into the U.S. to support our troops through Soldiers Angels. She would drive hours, and she would donate her time, her money, her treasure, and impressed upon her children the importance of service. And they are like my family. I love them dearly, and Julie is exceptionally special.
That's awesome
to me.
That's awesome.
So just let me brag on her for a second.
Yeah.
Julie Morelli.
So she has a very sharp question, right? And she's right on.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
She's dead on it.
It is treasonous. I would think it is. I mean, if I had we've heard reports and news reports of husbands and wives that one type of that still have their spouse stuck in country, right? And they've been on the phone. You've heard recordings. They've called in the news, Sky News and Fox and places. I can't imagine a family member today to hear the U.S. CENTCOM commander say, oh yeah, we've given them like the name, address, all that stuff to the Taliban of where your loved one is and who your loved one is. So they know they should let them through, right?
So this is the second time for sure that we know that this has happened. Several months ago, we doxed a lot of the operatives, but non-Americans, the Afghanis that supported the Americans and outed them. And that's actually what was one of the things that led the genesis to, Chad and the group SaveOurAllies.org to doing what they're doing. This is, I would say, falls within the category. And I don't know if, people are rumbling about this. There might be some grandstanding, but this absolutely falls under treason. It definitely falls under misbehavior in front of the enemy, which is a crime punishable by death according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It is falls under sedition, and so these are high crimes. And back in the day, when the Constitution was written, would also fall under the misdemeanor category.
Yeah.
These are all impeachable, punishable offenses, and there can legally it won't take a rainmaker, Matt Damon law student type to draw a direct line between this behavior, these actions, and the death of Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a sad thing. And Julia, I was right with you when I heard that today. I heard the commander say it, and I thought that couldn't have been what he meant. But then the people in the news kept repeating it. And then when he was asked that in the president's speech, I was like, holy cow, this is true, totally legit. That's what they did. I loved how he distanced himself. Like, oh, I don't know about that, but I do know we bring buses. I'm like, so you know about busloads of people coming in. You're well aware of that, but you don't know whether we've told the Taliban, here's our please don't hurt these people list. But yeah, so it's look, it's been a bad day, and it was a Thursday night there. Just so you don't know, if those don't know, Thursday night, that's like their weekend. So Thursday night's usually like the calm night. Like they don't normally fight on Thursday night. They don't usually do anything on Thursday night. One of my Terps is in the chat. What's up, Amal, my brother? They don't, they don't usually do that. So they did this on a Thursday night. This is the team. This is like the start of the weekend for in the Muslim calendar over there. So it's about to kick in the next day or two. And we talked about this, I think last week, if not the week before. I can't keep up with it, but we're on the ropes. We're on the ropes worse than we've ever been right now. And now they just, our enemies and the world stage is going to watch and see how we react to this. Right. The president drew a soft or a hard red line, probably a soft one. When he said just a week ago, if they hurt one American, if they keep one American from trying to get to there and get out, if they hurt one person, we're going to react with it, like whatever he said, right? I'll paraphrase, but severe force, and we're going to come back and, pretty much kick their butts. Okay. We've lost 13, 15 wounded, right? We will not mention hundreds of innocent people dead and wounded, right? Laying all over. You can see those.
Yeah,
videos.
we're not talking about the Afghani.
Let's not even talk about them.
No.
Let's just talk about it. They killed 13 military members, wounded at least 15, if not more. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to keep walking 5 more days to try to roll up and close the perimeter and get that last plane out? Or are we going to truly do something about it and bruise them and let them know, we told you, let us get out of here. Don't flip and pull this off. Because guess what? The Taliban today, Dave Bellevue on his show talked about it when I was on, that they had the outer court on, and apparently I haven't seen a lot of this. There was no Taliban there when this guy came in. They evaporated into the crowd.
Oh, they knew.
Yeah. So they can say Taliban and ISIS-K doesn't like each other, but here's one interesting tidbit, right?
They know when someone's bombing somebody.
Yeah. Right. It's just like when you rolled downtown Baghdad or we rolled in Afghanistan. All of a sudden, when people disappeared, it was like, this isn't no. Why didn't that kid just pick up the candy I just threw him? Why did he turn and walk away from it? So we told our administration told Taliban, don't you hurt one single soldier or we will knock the crap out of you. Well, guess what? Now they can say we didn't. It wasn't us. It was ISIS-K. In fact, you even said it was ISIS-K. It wasn't us. My bad. Yeah. Right? But they had the outer court on. They have the Taliban has the airport so locked down people can't get there. But yet all of a sudden at one of the main gates, there's 3 main gates, right? North, South, and Abbey Gate, or East, North, and Abbey Gate. That main gate, all of a sudden there was no Taliban. Like, was that the moment that they all went to prayer time and everyone could have just ran in? Like, they're completely complicit in this.
Yeah.
What is our administration going to do?
I mean, here's. Yeah.
Jimbo, our good buddy Jimbo said it right before we came on the air. He was on with Tucker. He was asked by Tucker Carlson, what is this ISIS-K? He said, they're the most savage of the they were all Taliban. They felt the Taliban wasn't savage enough. That's literally when we talk ISIS-K. These guys they were like, no, it's not good enough to shoot someone. Every one of their heads must be cut off with a dull, rusty knife. That's the ISIS-K, right? So they're not enemies of the Taliban, right? They're all homeboys, right? They're the, they're not enemies at all.
It's they are not a government. They are a terrorist organization, and they're affiliated with other terrorist organizations via support, via funding, via manpower.
They're all in the same terrorist union.
And now via execution. So it doesn't matter who you say did it. Uh, it just once again demonstrates that this is why you don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
And but that's what I got for tonight, man.
Yeah.
I just again would love to encourage everybody, saveourallies.org. If it's on your heart to help. I do want to give a shout out to Amal. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for going in the chat room. I'm happy to stay on a few more minutes if Amal wants to write something or ask a question or make a statement. I would love to give him the opportunity to share with our listening and watching audience. So if he puts something in the chat room, Troy, you or I could repeat it so that those that are listening to this on their podcast, be it Spotify or iTunes podcasts or any of our platforms that we're currently on, iHeartRadio, they will hear the words of your interpreter from country.
Yeah.
This is probably deep on his heart. His family's involved in this. And so I would love for Amal to share something if he would love to.
Yeah, absolutely. And luckily he's back here in the States. All my interpreters that did not get killed over there, as far as I know, they all came to the States. Hopefully they're still here. I can tell you, I mean, I'm not going to go into all the details, but I've spent the last 5 days working diligently for a couple of my interpreters' families. We were so glad to hear today. We've been working to try to get 9 people back, 9 Afghans back. 3 got out today. I actually got a picture of them getting on a C-17. The brothers of one of my Terps got out on their way back, still working to try to make sure they get to the U.S. and not have to get stuck somewhere else. But, I mean, this isn't unique to me. Toby's dealing with this. We know about Robo and what SaveOurAllies.org is doing. I'm talking to Scott Mann, who we talked to last week, that we had on the show. He's doing this. I don't think there's one Afghan vet that I have talked to in the last week that is not doing this for somebody, right? All of us. I mean, I've had, Toby, I don't know about you, but I've had guys tell me, guys that were with me, that once we got out of there said, screw that place, I'm never going back. We did our best. But all they've said is, give us a plane, give me a full kit, and they're all like, I'd go back over there in a second to pull these people. Not pull the Americans out. They're talking about pulling innocent Afghans out. These are people, and just like, I'll go pull people out. This is striking at the nerve and the core of our veterans, whether they did 1 tour or they did 8 tours, and what kind of branch they were in. I've heard it unequivocally. My phone has been blowing up for a week about it.
Well, if you don't mind, while giving Amal a chance to put some thoughts together, he just responded.
Yeah.
Just for context, frame of reference, if you will, for our listening audience. Afghanistan, roughly, I think it's 34 million people. If our unpaid producer wasn't, on the road, he'd be doing his job and confirming the number. But roughly 60% of that population base, all right? So like, say we're between 34 million. So 60% of that population base is under the age of 20. All right. So, you have an entire population base, not an entire, you have a majority of a population base that have been free from the Taliban during their lifetime and know only of the Taliban as the boogeyman. Yeah. So like, we're going to go ahead and say that, 60%, of 34 million, half of which are females. There's a group, a demographic of people that, their futures are dramatically dark. And that's why you have people, especially young men, like we saw in the video, willing to climb onto a plane because they know, like, life as they know it is over, and that's how desperate they are. And that's why so many people are trying to help these women and children, because we know what's going to happen to them, because we've been alive.
Right.
You know, we before the Taliban, let's not forget that prior to the Taliban, Afghanistan was a world leader. Like before, it's one of the most mineral rich countries. It was exceptionally well civilized in terms of like Western culture. And when I say Western culture, I'm talking about like democratic rule and governance prior to, you know, the Soviet incursion, which resulted in the Mujahideen and the Taliban. Like the Taliban took a thriving culture and put it into the dark ages.
Yep.
And as they were emerging, 2 decades worth of a little bit of freedom, and got a taste. And when you look at that population base, imagine if America, 60% of America was OAC or AOC. I can't remember what her freaking name is anymore.
AOC.
Like
You're on it.
just a bunch of like frat boys and girls. Imagine that. Like, and imagine like we're like, oh, the Nazis are coming, and they're here. Like, even though they think that that's really kind of the case, but like, imagine if that like was a reality, not just like this, you know, abstract thought that some professor put in their head, you know, like while they were really high. Like this population demographic, when you look at those ages, like it's scary, and it's going to be interesting, you know, because like, you know, now you have a bunch of, I mean, for lack of a better term, I mean, it's going to be like one of them cult camps, you know, that you hear about in the desert with like 20 wives and 50 children. What was like Warren Jeffries or whatever that dude's name was?
Right.
You know, you just have a country of that.
Right. No, it's, I mean, you think about it.
Except a little more violent.
You know, my wife said it earlier, right before I came on the show. You know, we were talking about the you know, how this is affecting our veterans, and she's like, you know, this definitely wasn't for a waste. I mean, for the last 20 years, these people that were little kids, if you think about the little boys and girls when this first happened in 01, 02, are young in their 20s, you know, adults that are probably getting married, trying to have families, doing that kind of stuff. You know, they got opportunities, whether it be education, you know, just exposure to things. As she said, they've gotten freedom for the last 20 years. Even if the Taliban takes back over, they've had a taste of it. They're not going to let that go. Right. They have now. But prior to that, they didn't know any different. Generation after generation, this country has been at war longer. We've been a country. They didn't know. But for the last 20 years, as effective as we were, and as even though we had good intent of trying to shove Western democracy and ideals and all that onto them, they got a taste. I mean, I remember, Toby, being in Kabul in 2006 and seeing girls with, you know, 80s style Jordache jeans, skin tight jeans, right, hair flowing, no burqas, you only saw it in Kabul, right? Everywhere else they were all done up in burqas, but there they look like you went back in time to the 80s. Like all the girls were dressed that way, the guys were dressed like with a big collar shirt. I mean, it literally was like one big 80s party, right? They've got a taste now. Exactly. They got a taste now of what freedom is, of what civil liberties, of free choice and decisions and stuff, regardless of everything else. And my wife put it great. She's like, that they're not going to forget that. They're not just going to cower and roll back over. She goes, I think they're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep going. And I think she's right. You know, that's a good point in the fact that these kids that our first troops in the 10th Mountain and stuff threw candy to in early 2002 are now, you know, they're in their mid 20s and having families or looking to start a family and have been exposed to enough of the world to know that, you know, there's more out there and they understand what freedom is. But and to Pat, who asked, Rambo retired in 2015. Trust me, I did the research, brother. He's getting older and getting ill. He did retire. Hopefully he is still doing okay, but you'd be surprised. Everyone worries about Rambo. So as far as we know, he's okay. So I don't see Amal came back on and said anything.
Maybe I didn't either.
But hey, Amal, if you're listening, you know you're welcome back on. You're welcome on anytime, brother. Yeah. I'll tell you, Toby, this is a dude you want to meet. He is one of the,
for sure.
Amal, this is one of the smartest terps I ever had. This dude could run an artillery gun line as an interpreter of D-20 artillery pieces for the A&A. Now, I'm not talking like he knew how to pull the cord. This dude was running FDC, like, and doing it without an without an American artillery guy telling him what to do. Like, this guy learned everything and anything that Fort Sill could have thrown at him through two awesome American soldiers that worked for me on my team, and this guy knew more about artillery tactics and techniques and could run it by himself. Right, I love it. This dude he's sharper than a box full of tacks. Let me tell you. But we'll definitely I'll reach out to him, see if we can get him on.
Yeah, and just to share, we are blessed, you and I, that we've had both our Terps, or at least one of our Terps, on the show and in America. We had Khalid, on, that was my guy. He was with me, one of the very few survivors. I lost 9 interpreters, to being murdered, but we're blessed to have, I'm glad that he's here. I'm thankful that he's here. And I'm grateful for the service that he gave this country.
Yeah.
And, if all goes according to plan, he'd probably get sworn in before me.
He may already have. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know Khalid has. So I'm like, you son of
a. Yeah.
But loved everybody, and great show. Tune in soon. We both have a lot of travel coming up and work coming up, so we're going to be trying to either record episodes if they're not live and then try and play them at the time when they would normally play. But we might not always have in the future some of these live shows. So it was great to have one, and look forward to our next episode with everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be having very soon, our good friend and past guest, Dr. Mike Simpson, has a new book out. We're going to be having him on talking about that. Definitely don't want to miss that. Everyone, be sure and keep tuning in. Keep an eye on Stu and the Nunn. We're hitting the Twitter. We're hitting the IG, all the socials. We're going to kind of keep doing updates there as things happen and breaking news happens. But we thank you so much for joining us all tonight. It started a little bit late, went kind of typically long, a little over an hour and a half. Just pay attention to the news. Pray for all those involved. We have air crews flying back and forth. They're obviously at risk. We have people over there standing on that wall, as we all know. And we have, Americans and friends of our country that have saved a lot of Americans stuck that we need to try to get back. Just, if you can, fall on your knees and pray to whatever God you have to that he does those people right, and God finds it in his graces to help protect all of our American military and no more loss of life, and that we get everyone out and leave no one back. So who would have thought that the great nonprofit we've had on here before, Leave No One Behind, we would be talking about Americans, not just interpreters now. So with that being said, thank you all. Wish you all a good night, and we will see you all later. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.